So with that 2024 election around the corner, well, yeah, the GOP states are up to it again in terms of pressing voter ID rules. And the effects of it are somewhat unclear, but apparently right now it seems Ohio is leading the charge. This per the AP. As Ohio's primary approach is a strict new photo ID requirement is stirring concerns for military veterans and out-of-state college students in Amish communities and among older voters. Ruth Kahaki is among those caught up in the confusion over Ohio's law, which is going into effect this year. The retired nurse from Cincinnati gave up her driver's license and her car in 2019. Now at 82, she thought she might never have to set foot in another state license agency. But Ohio now requires an unexpired photo ID in order for someone to vote, and she'll have to get that at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. The law adds passports as valid ID, but eliminates non-photo documentation such as a bank statement, government check, or utility bill for registration and in-person voting. Military IDs are no longer acceptable when registering to vote. Can you imagine how much stress this is putting on older individuals, also individuals in the military, and as mentioned, those in Amish counties? Because for you to have to go to the DMV to get that, and also the documentation that you need, get out of here. Most people don't know where their birth certificates are, social security numbers, all of those things that are generally required for a photo ID. Now you have this population of individuals who have to go get that if they want to participate and have their voices heard as members of our community. That's not okay. And it's also not okay that this is impacting students at Ohio State University in particular. They've been advised, or their university itself has advised it's roughly 16,000 out-of-state students against voting in person on election day for fear that obtaining the necessary state ID card would invalidate their driver's license in their home state and disrupt their financial aid and residency status. The school suggests such students casting Ohio ballots do so by mail. Wow, that is a lot in terms of suggesting that students not vote by saying, hey, it's tethered to your financial aid. That sounds like some hint voter suppression to my knowledge. But of course, Ohio isn't alone in trying to push these suppression laws. Of the 35 states that request or require a photo ID to vote, Ohio is now the 9th Republican-controlled state to move to a strict law allowing few to no alternatives, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. The number of states where voters face strict photo ID requirements is poised to rise in the coming months. The GOP continues to push the election integrity, citing voter fraud, even though we know that's all bunk. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, citing election fraud is ridiculous because there are maybe a handful of cases every cycle. And what they're ultimately trying to do here, especially when we're talking about college students and the difficulties this creates for college students, is to cut back on what we have seen over the past 2 cycles. And it is that Gen Z, or now in college or approaching college, are way more liberal than their predecessor generations. So that created this scenario where Biden, even somewhat unpopular in a really tough midterm climate, Democrats hung on to the Senate, expanded their majority in the Senate. Republicans really underperformed in the House too, and you could thank young voters. So this is what the GOP is going to try to do around the country. How do we make it as difficult as possible for young people to vote? And this is just one way, and we're going to see it replicated throughout red states around the country.
Absolutely, without a doubt. They do not want young people using their voices in any form or fashion, in part because they do not align with the old school draconian ways of the right. And it's so incredibly disheartening because these people are paying taxes, they are contributing to Ohio, yet so many of them seem to not be able to necessarily vote based on this new structure that is put in place in Ohio that could, as they say, jeopardize their financial aid. It really, again, sounds just like voter suppression 101. And it would be nice if it came back to bite the GOP, but I doubt that will be the case because individuals who are more aligned with the right will be able to figure out what they need to do in order to be able to jump through the hoops that the GOP has set up that it's hoping will hamper most of those on the left.